Who among us would have imagined that the Coca-Cola company's products contain alcohol and drugs, especially cocaine? No, not only that, the name of the Coca-Cola company is taken from cocaine. You know, the topic is very strange to you. That's why today we will talk about the history of the Coca-Cola company from its beginning, because it became one of the largest companies in the world and the 10 most powerful companies in the world. Coca-Cola, one of the most recognizable brands worldwide, has a large and complex history that has been over 135 years. While the company has successfully created a brand image that is synonymous with happiness and nostalgia, its past is marred by scandals and dark secrets. In this video, we'll dive into the dark history of Coca-Cola, exploring the lesser known aspects of the company's history, early years, and the origin of cocaine. Coca-Cola was first created in 1996 by John Bimber, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. The original recipe included coca leaves, which contained cocaine, a high addictive and controlled substance. At the time, coca leaves were used as a local anesthetic and were thought to have medical properties. However, the company removed cocaine from the formula in the 1993 after the passage of the Beer, Food and Drug Act in the United States. Coca-Cola faced criticism for its environmental impact, particularly regarding water usage and pollution. The company has been accused of depleting water resources in areas where its factories are located, leaving local communities without access to clean water. Additionally, Coca-Cola has been involved in water privatization scams, which have led to the displacement of indigenous countries and the destruction of natural habitats. Coca-Cola has a history of labor rights violation, including union busting and worker exploitation. In the 1980s and the 1990s, the company was involved in several high-profile labor disputes, including a strike in Colombia that results in the murder of several union leaders. Coca-Cola has also faced criticism for its treatments of workers in developing countries, where labor laws are often lax or barely enforced. Water shortage. We all know that the exact formula to make Coca-Cola is kept a secret. It will probably remain that way for a long time, if not forever. While we don't know everything it is bought into Coca-Cola, we don't know that the most definitely use water. You can make most drinks without water, so it is not surprising that the sugary drink has a lot of water in it. This, however, becomes a problem in countries that have issues getting clean water on constant basis. It takes a lot of time to make just one bottle of Coca-Cola, and this has results in poorer countries not having any access to water due to Coca-Cola factories using up all of the liquid. Not only do people not have enough water to drink, but they don't have enough water for their crops, meaning they also missed out on water, consuming and making the food they need to survive. Employee dying. You wouldn't think that working at a Coca-Cola factory could result in anyone dying. But that's exactly what happening to several Coca-Cola factory workers in Colombia. It was in 1996, and the day started off relatively normal when the factory was suddenly ambushed by a bunch of wild-eyed members of a nearly paramilitary group. A a Coca-Cola executive tried to get the man to leave, but the man refused and they end up killing the executive. This resulted in the paramilitary group giving Coca-Cola a sign to be quiet and leave or die. Of course, the employees left the factory as quickly as they could, where the group took over the factory and made it theirs. Coca-Cola still receives criticism for this, as they did very little to find out why this murder went down in the first place. Not to mention, when the factory eventually opened up again, most of the original workers were simply fired. False advertising. Coca-Cola observably won the biggest beverage company in the world. At this point, it is safe to say that they probably are, although their size hasn't stopped them from buying out companies in order to make as much money as possible. This is what happened in India in 1977. Coca-Cola has begun their expansion to India, selling their products at local shops. Unfortunately, they didn't do as well as they planned. Few people bought their products and Coca-Cola lost a lot of money, so they left before they could lose any money cash. In 1977, an Indian company called Thumbs Up appeared and they sold their own fizzy drink. Coca-Cola had already left, leaving the opportunity for another company to take its place. Coca-Cola ended up buying the Thumbs Up company, rebranding it. This caused people to think they are giving their money to Thumbs Up, but it really ended up in the pockets of Coca-Cola. This means that Coca-Cola is selling Coca-Cola without people even realizing it. Aggressively selling tactics. We all know how healthy water is. We also know that we need to drink a decent amount every single day, but there was a time where Coca-Cola was completely discouraging against that. What Coca-Cola wanted to do was make as much money as possible by encouraging people to drink Coca-Cola over water. To do this, they launched a campaign that went by the name H2No. This campaign was supposed to get waiters and waitresses to push Coca-Cola on customers instead of pouring old water. Coca-Cola was trying to get restaurants of their side by saying water would simply bore the customers, and that Coca-Cola would instead make them feel boozed. Maybe they assumed customers would spend more money on food, which would benefit for both Coca-Cola and the restaurants in the long run. This was basically a way for Coca-Cola to take down their competition water. Plus, they got some extra cash in the process. Health concerns. Can Coca-Cola kill you? If you drink enough of it, it apparently can. Coca-Cola faced criticism when a woman from New Zealand apparently drank herself to death by drinking too much of the soda. She was only thirsty and she spent most of her days gulping down bottles after bottle of Coca-Cola. The coroner who observed the woman's body said that many of her medical condition could be linked back to her Coca-Cola addiction, which raises the question just how addictive is Coca-Cola. There is no doubt that many people drink Coca-Cola several times a day, but what is never acknowledged by the company is what mistakes their particular ingredients so The corner did say that if she didn't been drinking so much Coca-Cola, then she still would have been alive. Something Coca-Cola never really phased up to. Marketing towards children. In the 1990s, Coca-Cola was trying to tackle the idea of getting the younger generation to consume their products. The 90s were a time where things were slowly changing in regards to what we eat and drink, but Coca-Cola was quick to jump and make certain that kids were drinking their products and their products only while at school. The company would hand over money to schools, which would result in Coca-Cola getting the rights to sell their drinks in said school. This resulted in one New York school getting a stadium with a giant Coca-Cola sign, which meant kids were being advertised to even when at school. Schools were then urged to sell the products to the children and kids. Despite how unhealthy too much of the product can be, schools were even threatened with making less money if they sold drinks like milk and fruit juices, excluding farmers. Coca-Cola clearly has no issues trying to beat out their competition and make as much money as possible. This can be seen with how they source their ingredients. The company used to get their coca leaves from local farmers in Peru, and some say that some of the US factories are still doing this. The issue with that is that Coca-Cola leaves are almost entirely illegal around the globe. They are commonly used to make cocaine, and this of course is a legal drug. The real problem is that coca leaves can technically be used for other things as well. Local things like candy, if they made correctly, of course, because of the drug laws that have been implemented. These farmers in Peru can only sell their products to Coca-Cola. Their access to the leaves. This means Coca-Cola can ask for the leaves for pretty much any price, which leaves a lot of the farmers poor and struggling sometimes. Coca-Cola doesn't really address despite how much money the company makes. Misleading medical studies. The Coca-Cola company was under fire a few years ago due to the research department employees speaking out about misconduct. Coca-Cola has always been branded as a company that promotes unhealthy sugary drinks. It is a fact that Coca-Cola's drinks contain quite a bit of sugar, and we all know that sugar can lead to obesity. Coca-Cola, however, was finding scientists who would instead place the blame on people simply not exercising. Coca-Cola wanted the world to know that obesity had nothing to do with what a person consumed and everything to do with their lack of movement and exercise. A lot of people claimed Coca-Cola was being extremely irresponsible with the data they were sharing, as it didn't take into consideration just how damaging sugary drinks can be. The company said that obesity couldn't be dealt with by cutting down calories, something that a lot of nutritionists disagree with. Originally contained cocaine. Coca-Cola used to contain tracks of cocaine in their drinks. It might sound like some silly urban legend you heard at school, but it's true that the fizzy drink used to contain the drug. There have been countless disagreements on how much was featured in the drink, but the fact is that Coca-Cola used to use coca leaves in their products, and some say that they still do. In those leaves you will find cocaine, alcohol, which of course can be used to create cocaine. In 93, the company began to slowly but surely remove cocaine from their drinks manually because a lot of Americans become worried about the overwhelming amount of African Americans who were buying Coca-Cola. Many weren't allowed to use foundation, so they end up just buying their own drinks instead. White Americans were fearful that this would result in them being attacked by people consuming the drug-filled liquid, so Coca-Cola moved on from the leaves. Coca-Cola Lion. At this point, we all know that Coca-Cola had traces of cocaine in their drinks, but did you know that Coca-Cola was supposed to be simple but sweet tasting wine, but prohibition come around, making the overall drink illegal. That was when the creator of Coca-Cola decided to include cocaine into the drink instead. Then they rebranded the drink as a headache cure with the medical power coming from cocaine. This was of course a time before people really know what kind of damage cocaine could actually do. While Coca-Cola never seems to really acknowledge the odd things in their drink, they were criticized recently because of reports that were released contain tracks of alcohol which doesn't appear to be rising anymore on bottle. This caused a new war, especially in countries that has a strict anti-alcohol culture.